my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, need you every day. You like my oxygen. Make it seem like the barging down. Got my heart no barging in. From the bed to the floor to the couch. Might wake the neighbors up.
Everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob, Super League Malibu. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas, SFuels Go Longer, HOKA Let's Fly, deboer wetsuits, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, original triathlon brand, Quintana Premium Plus Sports, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, Olympic silver medal, Olympic bronze medal, back racing. Katie Zaferes joins us. How you doing, Katie?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's been a while. We haven't chatted in a while.
I know. It's been too long.
It has. How old is Kimball now?
He's almost 15 months because we still talk in months.
I like that. Is you talk till months till you get to 2 years?
That's sure. That's my cutoff.
So getting back into racing, how tough has it been?
Yeah, it's been really challenging. Really good, but also very challenging. So it's funny because there's parts that I anticipated being challenging that have been easier, and there's parts that I didn't even think about that have been more challenging. So it's been a mix.
Yes. But the nice thing is it's hard because you go to Pontevedra, you go to Paris, and you have expectations. But just thinking about where you were a year ago and 6 months ago and where you're at now, fitness wise, you're at a totally different level than you were before.
For sure. I mean, I think I have to appreciate the progress.
Yes.
And sometimes that's hard as you reflect on yourself when you just want to be back to where you were before.
Yeah.
But I know everything's going in the right direction. It's just
Right.
Sometimes you want it to be like it's
just
not like that.
Does not work like that. I remember going through just with interviewing Chelsea Sodaro so many times leading into Kona, and just the highs and lows of, because it's not just about your training. It's about every aspect of it with Tommy and Kimball and who's watching Kimball today. And there's so many other details that you have to work on every single day.
Oh, yeah. You have to think a lot more.
Way more, right? You can't just be spontaneous. That stuff's out the window.
Yeah, that would not work well for us, spontaneity.
How tough has the travel part been?
Honestly, the hardest part is the stuff, the amount of things we need to travel with. I always thought just traveling as an individual triathlete was hard with a bike and a bag.
Yeah, you needed a Sherpa with that.
Right. And now with Kimball and Kimball's things, it's a bit harder. And I was just telling you, sometimes Tommy and I are on different flights, so it'll be I've had to do a few me solo, and it really builds up the strength, I think. And actual travel, Kimball's amazing. He's been really adaptable and quite good traveling, but he is just alert and wrangly and or wiggly, and we have to wrangle him the whole flight. So it's definitely not a recovery flight.
No. You're not sitting in business class just relaxing.
No, business class will now be when we fly without a kid.
Oh my God. So the nice thing is being back at Super League, where you've won this series before. And is it nice to be back at Super League?
For sure. Yeah, it's really nice. And it's also a very demanding race. So
hard.
It's jumping into the deep end in a way.
Yeah. And so after Pontevedra, now you're here at Malibu. And then what's the rest of your season?
So I really wanted to do NEOM. However, because of where I'm at with World Triathlon rankings and points, I actually need to do, and Pontevedra didn't go as well as I had hoped it would. So I actually need to continue my points adventure and try to get some more leading into the 2024 season, so that basically I can make the start lines of the races that would be used to try and qualify for the Olympics.
Right? Because Americans are so deep.
Just
getting to the starting line is brutal.
Yep, exactly. That would be the part that I didn't think about. That has been way harder.
Yeah, right. When you're every year ranked 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st in the world, you're not thinking about getting a start.
Correct.
Now you're having, you and Gwen have sort of been in the same, okay, how do I get a start at this race? And then a lot of times you find out sort of last minute that, you're going to get a start, which means you got to uproot everything and go.
Yeah, and just trying to make decisions on, do you go when you're on the wait list or do you not go? And luckily for us, for the last few races, I've made it onto the start list or known I would be on the start line far enough in advance to really appreciate having that clarity.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been challenging, and we're still figuring things out.
So coming off of the Olympics, obviously with Dad passing beforehand, and then going to the games and not really knowing if you're going to go, because it was you and Taylor Spivey, who's going to get the spot. Then you go there and you get the bronze in the individual and see a rainbow during the bike ride. And just, it was one of those magical type of days. And then you guys come away with the silver in the mixed relay. So, I mean, really couldn't have gone much better, right?
No, for sure. I mean, that was, as you said, magical, really.
Was magical.
I think before Tokyo, I had some doubts of where I was, but also an odd feeling of peacefulness that I was ready. However, you never know if that's actually going to be the case with your performances, whether that confidence and peacefulness translates on the race course. And after those races, I mean, I think I just felt relief in a way to be able to do what I knew I was capable of. And as I said then, I mean, for the individual, I was probably the happiest bronze medalist there might have ever been.
Right.
I certainly felt like it was a win. And then
huge win
again for the mixed relay, and especially with a mixed relay that maybe people wouldn't have thought was going to be the composition of it for the year before. It was really amazing to be able to do that all together.
Yeah, I've interviewed a lot of folks in talking about, okay, 2019 or 2020 when everything gets canceled. Was that a good thing or a bad thing, right? For a lot of folks, it was, hey, it gave me an extra year. I wasn't ready. I was able to go to the games and do my best. Year 2019 was pretty great.
Yeah.
If the games were held in 2020, you were more than ready.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that delay was really hard on you.
It was, and you didn't really know what to do during it, whether you train really, really hard, but you still, like, quads feel long for between each Olympics. And so how do you, for me, I was a lot more about preserving that mental and physical energy. So I didn't want to be at my best in 2020. I wanted to be at my best in now 2021 when it got delayed. And then my dad passed away, and that really kind of like really affected
everything.
I was trying to articulate what it affected, and you're right. It's
everything, every aspect of your life.
Part of it.
You go for a ride, you go for a run. You're like, why am I doing this? This is not important.
Yeah.
There's way more important things to be doing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I was just doing an interview with Super League on it, and I was just saying, like, I didn't really care right after my dad passed away, and exercising wasn't an outlet. I just didn't want to do anything, and it was really just knowing I can't do nothing forever that I got started again and got back with the triathlon community.
How'd you get started again? Because that's brutal.
It just made the plane ticket, I guess, back to Europe to train with my training group and get ready for what was going to be like Yokohama was going to be the next automatic Olympic qualification event. I didn't do well in that race, but probably having that was incentive to get back to triathlon. And at the time it was uncomfortable and not really what I wanted to be doing, but it was probably the best thing just to have something timely that kind of forced me to get back to life.
I was going to say, also with your triathlon family.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a little bit of a normalcy that comes along with that. That's because that's where you would have been, anyways. That's where and that's where you get your strength from is those other people who you realize how much people care when this type of stuff happens. Oh,
I mean, for sure. Like the triathlon community, I feel like I've always appreciated, but then especially after my dad passing away, I realized, just how wonderful it was. And honestly, it's probably a reason coming back now.
Right.
If the triathlon community was pretty crummy, then I would have been done after Kimball. But I wanted it's a place I want to be, and it's a job I want to be doing.
So the path now to Paris there's a couple more qualifiers?
Yes, so only one athlete, Taylor Knibb, she qualified in Paris, and so there's still 2 spots available. One for sure, well, not one for sure will go, but the next automatic selection event hasn't been decided yet, but will be in the spring of 2024. And then I think oh gosh, I should know this. But I think it's the first American on the podium. One person can be selected there, and then the next one, there will be a discretionary selection made.
That's so hard, discretion, because you went through that last time.
I've gone through that every time.
Every time, yes, 16 and 20, yeah. That is really tough to be sort of sit and wait for the phone to ring and go, oh my God, because all the hard work. You can't control it. That's a hard part. As an athlete, all you want is control. Yeah. Right? And when you don't have it, it drives you out of your mind.
Yeah.
After Paris, after you make your 3rd Olympic team and hopefully get back on the podium, do you see yourself moving away from the sport? Do you see yourself moving up in distance? What do you think? Or is it too early to tell?
A little too early. I definitely won't be going for LA 2028. I think that's too long, too far for me. Maybe in a supporting role. I don't necessarily see myself done with triathlon in the sense of being involved in some ways. I really, like we just said, I really like this community, and I feel like I've learned a lot and I can bring something to it in a different way than as an athlete. I don't know whether I'm done with racing or whether I'd contemplate 70.3s, but also we want to add to our family. So there's just a lot of different pieces and a little bit of go by feel after this.
Well,
next
and
year.
Watching you at Collins Cup a couple of years ago, where like Lucy Charles was the dominant swimmer in the sport, and here you're sitting on her feet, and everybody's like, "Wait, Katie just said it like she looks like she's hardly doing anything." It's like, oh my God. And I know that during the bike, none of the fluid was coming up through the straw. You couldn't get any nutrition in. You basically did a lot of stuff wrong and still were great. And obviously, if you jumped into that distance or the PTO distance, you would be successful right away. But that's even a longer commitment, right? That's more longer distance races, and you're a mom, and Kimball's grown up and wants to have brothers and sisters, and I could see that being more of a priority.
Yeah, like I like the idea of doing 70.3s or like PTO distance, but we'll just see.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I don't feel finished with triathlon. I don't feel tired of racing necessarily. It's just whether it'll still work with family, the life and the family dynamics.
So you've raced Malibu before. That was a couple years ago.
Have,
and you podiumed.
I did. Yeah, I was just saying. I feel like it. I didn't think I was going to be on the podium for the series, and after Malibu, I ended up, and I was like, "Ooh,
that's pretty good."
Yeah, that was good. That's good memory.
So here we've got getting to have surf, and you've got a number of folks who are really, really good in the surf, and it's going to be really an interesting race. Do you like of the different formats? Do you like the Eliminator?
I do like the Eliminator. Yes, I really do. And I like that you don't have to think too much. You're just swimming,
you do the same thing twice. Yeah,
swimming, biking, and running hopefully 3 times.
Yeah.
And I like, I really like it. I think it's demanding. I think, again, it's one where you have to be solid across the board, which is how I would describe myself as an athlete. I like the surf part of it for the race. So.
We were just chatting. It seems like a lot of the athletes in Super League, they started in this sport when like 7, 8 years old, right? All the Sophie Caldwell, just like, I was 8 years old. And sort of I look at the Alistair Brownlee effect, because those guys all started so young. When we look at the U.S. group women, especially yourself coming from steeplechase, and Gwen coming from getting her CPA and running and swimming in college, and Summer, who was a swimmer and then running track as well, and you guys are identified out of college.
Yep.
Right? I don't know if moving forward that's going to happen. I think, as we move forward, you're going to have people are going to be 7, 8, 9 years old getting into the sport. Do you see that as well?
Well, it'd be nice if we had everything, right? Like, I feel like for the women, the collegiate recruitment program has worked
really well. Exceptionally well, yeah.
And so but I also would love if triathlon was a sport that kids were introduced to at a way younger age,
Yes.
and having more triathletes come up through the roots and
Yes.
develop as we notice in a lot of other countries that happening. So I guess I see both things still happening. I just hope that it continues with triathlon just growing and more
Right.
people finding their way.
How has the sport changed in terms of World Tri and even Super League? You've been doing this sport for a decade.
Yeah, wow.
Right?
It's true.
2012,
I'm still
something
new.
like that. Yeah,
I'm still new.
2012, yeah. But doing the sport for a decade, and there's obviously been changes in the way the races play out, and the type of athletes who are winning. How do you see the sport has changed in this last decade?
It just keeps getting stronger. I think
Deeper.
everyone keeps adapting to different athletes' strengths, and so I mean, even for me having that change from 2021 and a gap year to 2023. Right. So I would say, and obviously you're missing a few very influential competitors in this year, especially like Flora not being there, Jess not being there. And those are game changers, right?
Totally.
So, but what happened in 2019, 2021 is you'd have small breakaways on the bikes, like really solid swimmers, small bike breakaways, and then solid runners, but maybe not super duper fast runners for across the board. And now I feel like those super fast runners are also the ones who are swimming really strongly and in the front pack and then running quite fast. So I think everyone's just getting, I mean, when you see a weakness, no matter what athlete you are, no matter where you're finishing on the race course, you're working to make that better and become the strongest athlete. And you can just see all these other athletes becoming so much more well-rounded and really strong across the board that the whole race is really competitive.
Right, the whole time, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there was a while there where sort of the same people come out of the water together, and we'd ride together, and then you sort of, there's yourself and Flora and Jess, and you sort of knew. Now there's people coming out of the woodwork at a lot of these races who we've never seen before, and who are just coming in, swim, bike, run with no weakness.
Yep. Yeah, it's cool. It's watching. I mean, I guess you watch it in every sport, right?
Yes.
It just keeps evolving, and I think probably when you're in it, you might not notice quite as much because it just seems transition to transition. But I think by taking 1 year,
I was going to say
1 year out, it's interesting coming back, and you're thinking, did I just change a lot, or has the racing changed a lot? And it's probably a combination of both.
Probably a combination of both, because people seem to be running a lot faster.
Yeah.
And obviously we have the super shoes, which make a difference, but I just think people are training better and more efficiently, and wind tunnel and all type of stuff that maybe people didn't do before. What do you look at besides the Olympics? What do you look at as maybe the most important triathlon of your career? An event that told you, I could be one of the best?
Probably 2019 Lausanne was a really big race for me, in the sense that a couple weeks before I'd crashed and didn't qualify for Tokyo automatically in the selection event, and then just not really knowing where I was going to be, like whether I just ruined my chances of being world champion for Lausanne. So I don't know, that probably wasn't one where, it wasn't the first, that wasn't one that like showed me but it showed you were still, but it showed me that I could adapt and was resilient, and I was just really proud of that race.
Right, because you came back from a pretty nasty crash, and not being able to qualify a year out, which is such an advantage when you know what you're going to Paris, and you can plan out everything in between.
Yeah, especially that one, because then you had the whole 2020.
Exactly.
So it was a good time to qualify for.
Katie, always such a treat to get to chat with you, and hopefully Kimball will get to watch Mommy have a great race on Saturday.
Oh, for sure. He loves the beach, so he'll be super.
Does he?
He probably won't even be watching me. He'll be playing in the waves.
Hopefully. I think they usually have a sandcastle contest going on. So,
well, gosh, we better keep him away from those castles.
Katie Zaferes has been our guest. Again, Breakfast with Bob from Super League Malibu. Hold on. We will be right back.